the money that WWE is spending on the facilities like Orlando, like in the UK, and how much money it's taking to keep these people hired, like doctors, everything. They're spending money, and yet they're hiring these talents. Now it's making me question what their money is going towards. Not that it's going towards anything bad, but it's interesting to kind of see where that all the money is, that whatever it is being spent. So it's definitely a little bit interesting. So, but I think it's a good thing in all for the WWE product, and I think that, I mean, they're saying that there are gonna be more of them, right? The next one I see going, considering the talent that he's been bringing over to the regular NXT roster, is an NXT Japan. I mean, to be quite honest, it really makes the most sense. They have talents like Io Shirai coming over, Kairi Sane, and among many others. They're bringing in a bunch of Japanese talents to NXT for a reason. And I think eventually you're going to see NXT Japan. Then eventually you'll see NXT South America. You'll see NXT Australia eventually. So that's definitely very interesting to think that that's something that we're going to see. So I just kind of, I don't know, like, WWE's taking all these talents in, and Gabe Sapolsky even was like, now is the time that, we really need to get these talents, or it sucks that between AEW and now all these NXT territories, the good talents are now being swept away. But this is good for wrestling. Now it means that other talents in the UK can step up. It means that other talents in the United States and Canada and Mexico can step up and really take their talents to a new level, and that we're making new stars now. This is going to be the best year in pro wrestling. Right now it's off to a great start, and it's only going to get better. I cannot wait for what the rest of the year is going to look like, and we're only on the 13th day of January. I can't wait. I can't wait to see. So, you know what? I'm going to take a break. I'm going to play a Critical Mayhem match. I already played this on Thursday when I interviewed them, but I'm definitely going to air it again just because it should be aired again. Let's see. Just a couple comments here. Pete Dunne, main roster at 205 Live. Neither. Keep him in NXT UK. But if you were to make the move, I would have him in 205 Live, considering I think him and Buddy Murphy would have a tremendous, tremendous match for the Cruiserweight Championship. That would be WrestleMania material. Whether, having the WWE UK champion or former champion, depends on what they wind up doing with him and Walter against Buddy Murphy. And they are trying to take over the world, Blake. We already know this. Anyway, I'll be right back. Hang tight. Watch this match. And when I come back, I just want to close out the show having comments about the Nigel McGuinness documentary, which aired, which was a tremendous... Again, WWE hits it out of the park once again with another amazing documentary. Talk about it a little bit, have a couple comments, and then we'll be done for the day. All right. Welcome back from the break. Welcome Mike Wrestling Night. I hope you enjoyed the match in which that was played for you here today. If you had missed the interview my interview with Critical Mayhem, which I did on Thursday. You could go, again, on Spotify, on iHeartRadio, search for Open Mic Wrestling Night. The interview is up, as well as the full episode. It's funny, the guy who had the shoulder bandage, Mayhem Merlin, it's funny, the one thing that we learned about him is he's also actually a stunt performer. Like, that's what his main thing was. He is a stunt performer. Does stunts, all that stuff, and that is how that injury occurred. It wasn't through pro wrestling, it was through stunts. Outside of the squared circle, which was kind of funny. But, again, if you want to just go check it out there. Or you can find Open Mic Wrestling Night on Filling the Void Podcast Network at Spreaker.com/filling_the_void. And I had a good time talking with them, and I hope that I get the opportunity to talk with them again soon sometime to talk a little bit more about them and everything else too. So, again, before we get off the air in a little bit, if you want to talk anything in the world of pro wrestling, please feel free to put it into Twitch chat, or feel free to call in 657-383-0105, and we'll take care of that hopefully before I get off this broadcast. So here we go. The last thing I wanted to talk about here today on my agenda is the Nigel McGuinness documentary, which I wound up watching the whole thing this morning because I didn't get a chance to watch it yesterday. What an amazing documentary. WWE, if there's anything that they do right consistently all the time, is they always produce and put together some of the best documentaries you will ever see. And this one was no different. This was awesome. And it was great that they featured a guy like Nigel for a doc. Now, this also gives people a good idea of who he was before moving into the broadcasting position, whether it be with Ring of Honor at first or whether it be with NXT. So, or, NXT 205, NXT UK, he's, as he said in the documentary now, he's on the road proper. So, he was such a good wrestler. I remember watching him on, in Ring of Honor when he was, pure champion, world champion. I remember being in Edison, New Jersey, the day, the show that he won his world championship from Ring of Honor. And what a hell of a hard-hitting contest that was when he defeated then champion Takeshi Morishima. And it's funny because before I watched this, like the one time that I really wanted to play spoiler here for a second, to see what caused him to retire and everything else of the sort. He was an all-time great. Yes, absolutely. And where if somebody's watching it and you're saying, when Michael Cole makes the comment, he's probably the best guy who never signed with WWE or never got the chance to perform in WWE. Normally you'd be looking like, well, he brought him in as a broadcaster and he's just blowing smoke up his ass. No, he's not wrong in the sense that he's probably and arguably one of the best to never be a WWE talent, a contracted talent, a consistent performer. He's 100% right with that. Now, like I was kind of prefacing before, I tried to take a look online and see maybe what made him retire, and I forget where this was, but he said something along the lines of, when the time comes I'll reveal my story. It has to be the right place and time to reveal everything, because everything was rumored about this, about that. So he wouldn't reveal. Yeah, he wouldn't reveal. So then I'm like, oh wow, this really, it's either that deep dark of a secret, or he just didn't want to talk about it, because at the time, I believe in the one interview I saw, it was still pretty fresh. And you get to him wrestling and what he did as a performer. I was more interested in the story about the time when he left Ring of Honor, because he went to TNA. He was right as Desmond Wolfe. He got thrown right into the Wolves and wrestled Kurt Angle, and I remember watching that match live. That was an excellent match. I mean, two of the best to really ever do it of that era, especially Kurt Angle. That was a hell of a contest. And to see that he I didn't even realize that he had a contract with WWE there. Like, he had the offer there. He was offered a WWE deal, and he had even said it himself on there. If he hadn't been honest with them, like Daniel Bryan wasn't with all of his concussion issues, he probably would have been signed immediately. But because he had his bicep issue, WWE doctors wouldn't clear him until he got surgery on this. And his personal doctors and I, had said that there's no reason why he can't perform. He's perfectly fine. So that blows his WWE dream, despite him hoping and praying and everything afterward. He then, he's had his injuries and he's had his issues in the past. But then when the part that actually really shocked me, he was supposed to be on NXT Season 1. I don't doubt that either. But we know what it is now. But he then revealed at one point he had tested positive for hepatitis B. And he even said in a documentary, for full disclosure, because, he bled in Ring of Honor and he bled other places. He said, for full disclosure, anybody I had been in contact with and they had been tested after that, and none of them had contracted the hepatitis B, or none of them had it beforehand. Anybody who had blood on him or anything. Nobody they don't know how he got it. I mean, I'm sure you could figure it, things out, but again, it doesn't matter. The point of the matter is he had it. And then he's talking about how he went into getting medication for it. He had a trial medication, and it cleared out the disease in 6 months or something like that. So between injury issues and WWE doctors not clearing him, hepatitis B, and among other things, he have basically had to be forced to retire. And, had a retirement tour, which was cool. And then he started working for Ring of Honor as a broadcaster. He had the commissioner role for a little bit there. And then he was doing the broadcasting, which I was, I liked him broadcasting with Ring of Honor. And then he got the call to do the United Kingdom Championship, and then after he was doing that, they kept him on, and then we're off to the races, and we are where we are today. And it's amazing how influential he was to many of British wrestlers, especially Zach Gibson, who uses a submission. I don't know the name of it in particular, but Nigel had invented the submission. And the part of the the documentary made me very emotional, and I will admit, and I admitted it on social media too, I cried because